Tēnā koutou katoa, no America ho no te timatanga, no otatahi toku kainga inai nei, e roia toku tunga mahi o Perryfield Lawyers, ko Steven Moe toku ingoa, no reira ngā mihi kia koutou katoa. Hey everyone, it's great to have you here. Welcome to this kind of interesting, hopefully engaging and hopefully challenging session where we're going to be talking about LinkedIn. And this kind of originated because I post quite a lot on LinkedIn, and I thought, over the years I've learned a few different things, and I would love to be able to share what I've learned with other people so that maybe it can help you in your thinking. I'll say right at the beginning, I'm not claiming to be like a LinkedIn guru or a LinkedIn expert, but what I can tell you is that I use it a lot. Thank you. And I really enjoy the ability to share with other people a bit of what I'm learning, a bit of I guess, the power of social media is that we can connect and you can know that I'm in this place even if we didn't talk because I posted about it on LinkedIn. So what I've actually done to kickstart the session is on LinkedIn itself, I've gone and done a post and literally right now. So I'm just going to put a link to that. And what I thought we could do is, as part of the experiment here, just to play with the algorithms and start to learn about what it is and how it works. If you're willing to click the link and go to your LinkedIn profile, and then what I'd like us to try is there's kind of three ways that you can support a post, and we're going to talk about each of those. The first one is you can like it. The second one is that you can put a comment. And the third one is that you can repost it and then add your comment about whatever the topic is. So I thought if you can choose whichever you feel appropriate and put something like I'm at this session or, hopefully these are helpful tips. Let's see during the session while we're talking what happens to that post, and we'll come back to it and see if it's something that is getting picked up, that people are noticing or not. We'll see what happens. So in the post, what I've done is set out the 10 things that I've learned about LinkedIn. So I'm actually going to post them in the chat as well, just so that you have them. It's a PDF document. So let's just make sure I drag it in here. So these are the 10 things that I've learned. And you're welcome to use these as well if you want to do a post about this and then say, here it is attached, because I'll talk to you about whether it's best to repost content or whether it's best to post your own content. But to kickstart, I thought I'd run through these 10 things, and then I thought I would answer any questions that you've got. But as we're going through, there's going to be, I'll be able to see what's in the chat. So why don't you put your questions, put your challenges. You might disagree with what I'm saying, and I'm totally open to that. I would love to learn from you as well. And I know lots of you use LinkedIn a lot. So let's hear in the chat what your observations are, what's worked for you. So I'll just get that opened up. So the first one is actually kind of a fundamental point, right? And that is that I think you need to give something to help others. So LinkedIn, from my perspective, it has the potential to become quite a narcissistic look at me type of platform. And I hope that my posts don't come across that way. That's not their intention, because in every post I do, what I'm trying to do is add some value to the person who's reading it or is clicking it or is seeing it. So what I mean by give something of value is that my posts are never, hopefully, like, I'm at this event, look at me. They're always, I'm at this event, and here's the top 3 things that the speaker just told us about. Or I'm at this event, and in the comments, I'm putting a link to a thought paper that somebody just mentioned. It looks really interesting. So what I'm always trying to do with my posts is I'm always thinking, how can I add value to my reader or the person who's going to potentially click it and like it? And I think this is something that a post that just says, I've just arrived in Auckland and it's a sunny day, like, where's the value? What am I giving to people? So what I'm trying to do with my posts is to craft things that people will actually benefit from. So to me, that's like the foundation that underpins everything else. If I'm not doing that first thing right, then nothing else is going to matter. So I hope I'm emphasizing how important this is. Whenever you're crafting a post about LinkedIn, and to be honest, this could be for Facebook or Instagram or other platforms. It's just we're talking about LinkedIn here because for me, LinkedIn has been a really good tool to connect with other professionals. And that's what I think of it as. It's a tool. It's just a way to connect. But these principles apply no matter what. So the first principle is really simple, but it's probably of the 10, I'd say it's the most important. How is my post giving value or adding something to other people's journeys? I like to think about it. Pick any movie, basically any movie where there's some sort of a journey, a person and what they're going through. And what you'll probably find is that there's the equivalent of a Yoda. So Star Wars is my example. I was 1980s, I was a kid. Star Wars was a big movie. Are you trying to be Luke Skywalker, or are you trying to be Yoda, the person who can come in and give advice and give input? Because it's not about your journey, it's about your reader's journey, or it's about the other person's journey. So that's the key thing is how do you add value to the other person's journey? So everything I do, whenever I'm posting, I'm always trying to think about, okay, the potential reader is going to get this or that out of it. I spend a bit of time on that one because it's so fundamental to everything. And in a way, I hope it's the key thing that you take away from this. Whenever you post, how am I adding value? Number two, and I'm going to run through these fairly quickly. Thank you, Paul, for the first question. That's great to see. And I will come back to the questions, unless I see one that I really want to answer right away. Number two is be consistent in your tone. And I've said there, always be positive. So I think this is like I have a glass of water here actually, which is really nice. The glass is half empty or the glass is half full. I think if we can approach our posts with being positive, then that will kind of be a tone and people will get to know you as someone who's adding value, someone who's positive, rather than a negative, I disagree with that or I don't like this. I try to always, even if I actually think that, I actually try to frame it around maybe it would be I disagree with the government's approach to charities and tax, but here's the way that we can have a positive voice to say, we live in a democracy, there's a consultation happening, make sure you submit. So I'm trying to not just dwell on the negative, I'm trying to turn it into the positive. So that's a really important factor. And for those of you who are just joining in the chat, hopefully you can see it. I've put some 10 things that I've learned about LinkedIn, and hopefully it's helpful for your journey. On LinkedIn, I've also posted as we started this session, and I've posted those top 10 things. So if you're able to go either find me or find the link in the chat, if you're willing to leave a like or put a comment, let's just do an experiment and see what sort of traction it gets over the hour that we have together. So just for those of you who just joined. All right, number three for me is considering when you post and thinking about the time that you post. So this one, to me, now that I've been doing this a number of years, it makes kind of logical sense. So I hope that this is understandable and you'll understand the logic here. I find that there's a best time of the week to post. And I want you to think about when are people at work and when might they be checking their LinkedIn. So I see a lot of people posting at 9 o'clock at night or at 10 o'clock at night, and the posts often only get 1 or 2 likes or they're not, picked up. Why is that? It's because people are heading towards bedtime, like this isn't the time that they're probably active on LinkedIn. I also see people posting on Saturday mornings. Occasionally that can work, but in my experience, most people are not using LinkedIn on the weekend. So my optimal time, and I'm going to share with you everything I know. This is full, like this, nobody told me this stuff. I wish I'd known years ago. I find that the best time to post is a Tuesday morning and usually between 9 and 11 a.m. And my theory behind this is that Mondays, people are getting into the rhythm of the week, like they're just back from the weekend. They've got tasks they need to do, they're busy, so they're not as active. Tuesdays, they're kind of a little bit taking a breather, like the week has begun. And I find that my posts around that time in the morning have more traction than, say, in the afternoon. I think this is because if they get picked up at people are liking it or sharing it at 9 o'clock, the rest of the day still awaits. So, because remember, the algorithms, the way they work is that if you've liked something or if you've commented, then it might show up in your feed. So your liking or commenting my thing means that your followers potentially are seeing what was posted. So the point is, if I post something at 9 o'clock in the morning, that leaves the entire day for people to be finding it and liking it and potentially commenting, which to me, the goal that you're seeking is that somebody would engage enough to put a comment like, this is helpful, or ideally, thanks so much for posting this. I really appreciate it. Tag in 5 people, because then those 5 people are going to see that comment as well. So I find that that's the case. And then you might be wondering about Tuesdays. Why not Fridays or Thursdays? I think, in my view, this is because the working week, if you post on a Tuesday, that gives the post the chance for it to be seen on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday as well. Whereas if you post something on a Friday morning, the weekend then interrupts the cycle of people looking. So this is just my own thoughts. This is what I've found to be successful. I've been doing a lot of posting, and over the years, this is what I've found is that Tuesday mornings, there tends to be more engagement. Um, you'll see the final comment that I've got is sometimes you have to just do things because it's fun, right? So I actually rule break my own rules all the time. Sometimes I'll be at an event on a Friday evening at 6 o'clock, but I'll post a picture of me with somebody that I've just met, and I will always try to say, here's the thing that I learned, or here's some lesson or whatever. But I'll post it at 6 o'clock, which should be a dead time because most people hopefully are on to their weekends. But sometimes those posts will be as popular as a post earlier in the week. So I don't have a magic formula. I'm just telling you some of the things that I've learned over the years, and has helped me. And keep the questions coming in the chat. I'm going to make sure I get to all of those. And maybe as a side thing, I hadn't planned to say this, but I remember opening my LinkedIn account, and there was someone in the law firm. I was in Sydney at the time, and I think they had like 372 followers or, connections. And I thought, oh my goodness, that's so many, like 372 people. And in LinkedIn, if you get more than 500, it says 500 plus, if you look at the profiles. And I thought, wow, 500, imagine if you had 500 connections. The last I checked, I think I'm at 5,800 connections or so. So I've moved well beyond that. But it just shows the power of starting small, and connecting. So one bit of advice that's not in the top 10, this is why it's good to be here, is every time I meet someone, I try to look them up and connect with them if I've had some sort of a connection. So I just came from a set of 2 meetings, one at 9:30 and one at 10:45. Here, I'm in Auckland today. And after those meetings, I've gone onto LinkedIn and I'm finding the people that I just met and I'm connecting with them. So I find if I don't do it right away, I forget about it. And so making that connection is important to do. And that's why one reason that I've got so many connections is that I proactively will reach out to people. And this is a philosophical point, but I'm open to connecting with pretty much anybody who wants to connect with me. There's some obvious times where it's clearly they have no actual connection. It's someone in Tunisia and there's no mutual connections. I won't accept those ones. But if somebody connects or tries to connect with me and we've got 10 or 20 or 50 connections. I had one the other day. I think there was 700 mutual connections. So there was clearly same world. I will connect with people. But that's a philosophical thing. You might say, I need to actually physically meet the person, and I want my connections to be only people I remember or I've met. For me, maybe this is why I've got quite a few now, is that I'm a bit more open than that. But that's also because I do a lot of public speaking, so people might reach out to me because they heard me speak or something. So um, anyway, that was diverging away from my top 10. So back to the top 10. I've got here considering mixing planned posts with spontaneous if you're at a meeting. I kind of touched on this before. Sometimes I'll be at a meeting, or I'll be in the airport, or I'll be outside and seeing a sunset, or, it doesn't always have to be about, look at this professional learning that I've just had. I'm about probably tomorrow, so I'm breaking my rule, right? Probably tomorrow I'll be posting about a podcast episode I just put out on the generosity mindset. So it's a short 10 minutes of me talking about what is it to be generous? How do we be generous with our time and our energy? And I'm planning to post that. And it does nothing to do with the law, no legal things. Like, I am actually a lawyer. Sometimes people forget, but it's not a legal thing. But I'm going to post it, and I'm going to mix up a planned post from a spontaneous post. So I think that that's important. But remember, number one, how are you adding value to your reader? How are you giving them something that's interesting or helping on their journey as well? So that's in my experience. We'll keep moving through. Number 5, I find that posts with pictures and people perform better. It makes logical sense. Are you drawn to a text-only post that has lots of great content? Or is your eye drawn to a photo with a person smiling with another person or a group of people, or a photo? So I see sometimes people I see posting on LinkedIn, and the content really good. Like, that's really helpful. But they've let themselves down because they haven't taken the time to think about the visual that will accompany and help people to read the content. So I spend quite a lot of time thinking about what will my post have as a visual aid to draw people in. So that's something that you can think about. I tend not to have too much text on the visual. I'll have it just be me and another person smiling at the camera, or me and here I am. I'm about to start speaking, and here's the room where I'm at. What do you do when you're nervous before you start talking? Leave me a comment with your tips. That was a post I did like last week, I think it was. And that post has gotten thousands of, it's been viewed a lot. But it's an interesting post. It's me smiling. There's some people in behind. It's kind of interesting to look at. And then it's asking a question that we've all faced. What do you do if you feel nervous? And then I'm soliciting comment below if you have ever had this. And we've all had that, right? So I think that had like 30 comments. And that, of course, means that it's going into the feeds of those other people as well. But while I think of it, the comments, if somebody comments, I always respond as fast as I can. I think the algorithm picks up if you're a responsive person. So if somebody responds and says something like, thanks, this is helpful, it reminds me of the time, blah, 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 I'll respond and say, Paul, thanks for your comment. I really appreciate it. All the best, something like that. Really short, but the algorithm, I think, is picking up that I've taken the time to respond, and I've, commented and engaged with the person. So that's really good. Oh, you're going to help me out? It's gotten a bit tangled. I just need to plug in my computer so that it doesn't run out of battery. Yeah. So that's my theory with comments, is that respond as quickly as you can. And also that shows that the post is getting some engagement. Yeah, that's working. Thanks. that shows that the post is getting engagement. And what are you trying to do? You're trying to foster a community of people who are following you and who are engaging, and you're rewarding them. Like you commented, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You took the time to read my post. I just don't understand when people do posts and they get 7 comments and they haven't replied to any of them. It's like, don't you care that somebody took a bit of their day and they commented? Why not respond? Even if it's to say thanks or great thought, like it's not that hard. And then very often, if it's somebody that I know and I know that they're doing amazing work, what I'll do is I'll say, thanks, Paul. Really appreciate your comment. Keep up the great work at BoardWorks. So I know that Paul Brown works at BoardWorks, so I'm trying to shout out a little cross-reference to him. I hope you appreciate this, Paul. This is an actual shout out. He's doing amazing work helping with governance and boards and things. So, if I can add value to him by in the comment adding something and saying, and then because I've done a lot of interviews, I do a podcast called Seeds. Yesterday was episode 436. So if one of my former guests comments, then what I'll do is say, thanks so much. Really appreciate the comment. I've so enjoyed our conversation, which is at the link here. So I'm cross-referring and promoting their reputation by commenting on their comment and then sending people where they could then listen to that person. So this comes back to number one, right? How can you add value to your readers, your listeners, your commenters? You're there to help make things better for them. So yeah, thank you, Paul. I see your comment there. Loving the love. All right, we'll keep moving through here. So that was number 5. I think actually before I move on, the photos is one way. I'm also experimenting. I haven't perfected this, but what does it look like to record a little video? So, our phones are incredibly great images. Hold it up. Hey, everybody. I just wanted to have a note that I'm really upset or happy or exhausted or whatever, and do it as a video. My theory is that LinkedIn, and this links to number 6, LinkedIn likes it if you're giving them organic content, which is fresh to LinkedIn. So in other words, the photo that you upload is new content that LinkedIn is putting before its viewers. And the same with video. It's not directing them to YouTube or an outside source, it's putting it up as original content that's on LinkedIn. So this leads to number 6, which is posts without links to external sources. So if you look, I've only learned this in the last few months, so I'm willingly sharing this with you all. If you look at my posts now, you'll notice that I very, very rarely put a post which is a link to an external site. So I don't link to a YouTube video of me talking about something, or I don't link to the Perry Field website, which has a resource. What I'll do is say in the post itself, I'll say, we've just released a fund holding paper. If you want to see it, look at the comments for the link. And then in the comments, I'll put the link to the external source. The reason is that what I've found is that when I post things that link to external sites, I think the LinkedIn algorithms don't like that. Now, this makes logical sense because you're sending them away from LinkedIn. So what they like is if you're keeping people on the LinkedIn platform, which means that if you post an original photo or a video or something, and then you in the comments put how to access it external, my theory is that the LinkedIn algorithms like that more because you're not sending people away to go watch the YouTube video and exit the LinkedIn world. So I don't know, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I've noticed is that when I put posts that link to external third parties, those posts tend to get fewer likes and comments. Whereas if I post original content, it seems to help. So maybe will help you. So what you might notice, I see this, people often will post, here's the latest podcast episode I've done. link to Spotify, link to Apple, link to my website, and they'll put it within their post. So what I'd suggest is you say, here's the latest podcast episode I've done with a visual of it, and look in the comments for the link, and then post those as comments to direct people where they're going to go to. I'd be interested what others of you have found. I get really frustrated because sometimes I'll spend ages working on a post and I'll have crafted it, and then I'll post it and it will link to another site. And it's like, why is there no engagement on this post? Like, this is beautiful. Like this, why are you clicking on my post of me standing in front of an airplane saying I'm on my way home? I spent 5 seconds writing that post. I spent an hour crafting this one. So anyway, hopefully these are tips that help you. Number 7 tip is tag others in, but only if number 1 applies. So remember, number 1 is the heart of our conversation. How am I adding value to my reader or my person who's seeing the post? So I usually don't tag people in the main body of the post itself, unless it's a collaboration. So I've just collaborated with Craig Fisher, the amazing Craig Fisher, and I'll tag him in that post. If I'm then tagging in other people, I'll put it as a comment. And usually I'll say something like, I thought this would interest you, person, 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 person. I've learned that if you go too many people tagging in with a comment, then that is almost, I don't know exactly, but when I tag, say, 15 people or 5 people, I find that seems to be better than tagging 50 or 60 people. I think I'm not confident here, but I think maybe LinkedIn doesn't like it if it looks like you're spamming 50 contacts. But they don't mind it if you're tagging in relevant people, which comes back to my number 1. If you're tagging people in, try to spend a bit of time thinking about why would this be relevant for this person. Don't just tag in everybody that you know. Actually think about it like, okay, this is something about tax and charities and trusts. Okay, who do I know who might be interested in this? Oh, I know this person, and this person. So that's my theory. But tagging in is something I'd encourage you to consider doing, because when you tag it in, I'm sure you've all gotten notifications like, Steven Moe has mentioned you in a post, and then you click it, you go and see the post. Hopefully you like it, you comment, you repost it or whatever. So that's my theory with commenting, is it's a really good way to harness the potential ambassadors for your content. But you need to be very careful about getting the right people. Some people I know will pretty much like or comment on most things that I post, which is really wonderful. It depends on the post. Sometimes I will tag those people in who I've gotten to know over the years are advocates for what I'm doing. So I'll just tag them in, but it depends, because you don't want people getting tired of being tagged. So there's a balance here, right? You don't want somebody realizing that you're tagging them in every single post. So try to make sure that you're serving the person that you're tagging. Keep the comments coming. Actually, I might answer this one because somebody's just asked here about scheduling posts. So why don't we do that, because it does relate to this. It's come to me as a direct message, so you might not see it in the full thing. If you were to schedule for Tuesday morning, you'd have to go back and add comments if you'd scheduled it. Is there any way you can schedule comments? So you're right. If you scheduled your post, you then have to go in to leave the comment, which can be it can be troublesome because you might forget to go in and leave the comment. So my colleague Anna, who works in Auckland, who I'm actually in the same room with right now, she reminded me the other day, you haven't put a link to the thing that you say that you talk about in the post. And that's because that one was a scheduled post, and I had forgotten to go in and put the link to the fundraising thing. So I went in and left the comment, and I'm pretty sure, Anna, I think I copied you, or I tagged you and said, thank you for this. Yeah. So I try to acknowledge, if someone's helping me, I'm trying to acknowledge that, thank you. So that's hopefully you're getting the vibe of my approach with LinkedIn is it's about helping and serving the people that you're posting or you're doing things. So yeah, I do scheduled posts sometimes. But you have to remember to go back then at that time and then put the comments. Yeah. The other thing that this may interest you, it interests people when I tell them this. How many LinkedIn accounts do you think I am the controller of? It's a rhetorical question. I think I control 7 LinkedIn accounts. So I have me, and then I have Seeds Podcast. And Seeds Podcast now has about 1,500 followers. So that's quite a good way to comment and hopefully they then see it. Then I have Perryfield Lawyers, which is, the law firm. And then I have one called Seeds Podcast Impact Conference, which was a conference I ran 2 years ago, had about 500 people showing up. I'm going to run it again in 2026. So that's a different account. And then I've got the Apple Tree, which is an account for the little book I did, a children's book. And then I've got one called Impact Driven Lawyers. And then I've got one called Board Matters Podcast. So those are 7 different accounts that I control. So guess what my posts often get? You know where I'm going with this, right? I tag in the accounts that I control, and then I will go in and like my posts. And sometimes I will repost them as Seeds Podcast or as Board Matters Podcast. So I'm not advocating a massive network of, I've got thousands of LinkedIn accounts, but this is helpful if you have another identity that can back up and support the content that you're putting out. Because of course, if I post, I haven't been able to do it with this one that I've just done at the start of this session, which I'm really curious to go and have a look and see how it's going. Hopefully you're commenting or, putting likes on it. But if I post something that I think will add value, then I'll tag myself, my other accounts in, and then I'll go in as those accounts and like them or comment or tag other people in. So something to consider. Maybe you have your personal, identity, but do you have a trust or a charity or a company that you work for? Maybe that would be helpful to consider. You have to be the admin basically, and so your employer needs to trust you. I'm lucky because I am my own employer, I guess, as a partner of the law firm. But you might be something that you could consider is how can I amplify my posts? All right, we're making good progress here, and thanks for the questions. I see there's some good ones coming in. So we've done number 7, tagging others in. Number 8, using comments to link to additional resources. I kind of touched on that really. So yeah, you get the point. Your post might be about this topic. I'll usually in the comments try to add additional things. So we've just released this paper. Craig Fisher and I have released this paper on charities and tax. Look in the comments for a link to it. As well as that, so that's one comment. And then here's a video of us talking. And then here's another resource that we worked on a couple of years ago about hard questions charities need to ask. So use the comments to provide additional resources. Again, remembering number 1, how am I adding value to the people that I'm, trying to support? All right, number 9 is asking people to tag others in and repost and be willing to do that and be generous to do that for others. So if any of you tag me in on your posts, I'll probably like them, right? Like I try to be as generous as I can with how I use my LinkedIn profile. Of course, it will depend what it is that you're saying and what the post is about. But this is an offer, right? I like to think that if you tag me in and you're offering some helpful content, that I would be willing to at least like. A like counts for something, but probably not as much as you think it counts for. I find that a like doesn't amplify the exposure as much as a comment. I find that a comment is like the gold dust because if you can get 10 comments, it's way better than 10 likes. And I think the reason is that by commenting, the person, so their comment shows up within their feed, which means that their networks are seeing what they said, and then they're more likely to click through, as opposed to, Sophie liked this. It's not telling us very much. Whereas if it's got the comment, it's, oh, okay, this is why they like this. So the other one is this may be intuitive from what I've already said, but if you repost content, don't be surprised if it doesn't perform as well as you might hope. I think that's because you're not providing original content to the platform. When you repost, you're amplifying somebody else's content. So even with my LinkedIn post, the one that I've just put on my profile, if you've reposted it and said something like, I'm attending this and it's really helpful, that's probably not going to get as much engagement as if you take the PDF that I put into the chat and you take that take the PDF as content. And you're welcome to do this, by the way, I don't mind. Take that and put it into your LinkedIn feed as a post. So that's an original PDF that you then are putting a comment like, I just attended a session about LinkedIn and found these top 10 tips were really helpful. I think that post, it takes about a minute longer versus reposting saying that. But I think you'll find, because you're putting new content, or the system thinks it's new content, that you'll get better engagement by putting in an original PDF or a picture or something rather than reposting other people's comments. So that's why I quite often see people will take their company's post and they'll repost it, and then they'll put a comment like, check this out, looking forward to speaking at this event. My advice would be, it would be better if you took the image from your company's post and posted it as your image, and then said, if you're interested in this topic, we're going to be having a session coming up, and look at the comments for the link to sign up. That, I think, would have better engagement than if you repost the content and you're saying, look at this thing down below. So I'd be interested in other people's experience. The whole session, this whole time, I'm just telling you things that I've observed and kind of wish that I'd known a couple of years ago. So, but yeah, asking people to tag other people in. I don't see a problem if you've posted really good content. I don't mind if you tag me and say, at Steven Moe, I think you'd like to see this. I might like to see it. So don't assume that there's not a generosity mindset out there. Like, tag people in. I thought you'd be interested in this, and then tag some people in. I think you'll find that most people would be generous. And if they've listened to this talk, hopefully they will also then comment with something like, this is really helpful, or I agree with your top 5 principles, but I would add a 6th one, which is blah, blah, blah. So assume that people can add value to your thoughts, and that asking them to add value. So sometimes I'll start a post and it will say something like, actually, that post I just did, I think I said, here are the top 10 things to know about LinkedIn. What do you think about this? Let me know with a comment below. So I'm soliciting that they would comment, that they would add their thoughts. And I think that little trigger of asking people to comment, then, of course, as you know, once they've commented, it's going more directly into their feeds. So hopefully helping out. All right, we're on to number 10. This is really important, though. Sometimes ignore everything and just post for fun. So I actually enjoy LinkedIn. I enjoy the interactions that I have. I also have found it to be a very helpful tool for business, because people will approach me. They'll see a post I've done on impact investing or charities or something, or fundraising. I'm a startup in a business. How do I fundraise? And then they'll send me a message if we're connected. And that's a way that I've been able to connect with many people. At some point in the messaging, I'll usually say, hey, what's your email? Because I'd like to send you a free resource. So I'm trying to convert it from a LinkedIn interaction into an email conversation because that then can lead to more of, the email, let's set up a time to chat, let's have a conversation. Um, if you're wanting to do this well, you have to be willing to have those conversations as well. So I think many of you know I have a 15-minute commute every day. I drive in, I drive home. I try to keep those times to have conversations. So every week, depends on the week. Sometimes I'll have 4 or 5 conversations. Sometimes I'll have more. Sometimes I'll have less. But it is a genuine offer that if somebody were to reach out to me and say, you were posting about startups and how to do fundraising, I have a question, I will try to talk to them at no cost because my ethos is how can I add value to this person? If they then say, this is wonderful, but I actually need some legal documents, then it will be, okay, that's great. We're really happy to support you. Just so we're clear, the cost is likely going to be this, and here's the process. And by the way, here's my team member, and they're going to be your day-to-day contact. So I'm shepherding them into having that more of a business relationship. Yeah. So what I thought I'd do now is have a look in the comments. And if you've got any that you would like to add now's your chance. Equally, if any of you are brave and you'd like to come off of the, muting and you just want to have a conversation, then that's fine too. So I'm just going to go back to the beginning. And let's have a look. I think this was Paul. So how do you juggle Steven as Perry Field with Steven as Chair of Community Finance? So some of you might know I do wear a few different hats. And I guess for me, I've embraced something which I call integration. So people often talk about work-life balance, as in I do my work so that I can do the things I really care about, which is life. And I think that's a misconception. I actually did a post about this and it was had lots of comments. So work-life balance, I think, is the wrong way to think about things. I prefer work-life integration in the sense of it's not like when I leave work, I'm a different person completely. And actually, I really love what I do. Work to me is something where I get a lot of satisfaction and a lot of enjoyment. So I don't want to have this distinction. But the answer to your specific question is, I am, Steven, the chair of community finance, which has raised 170 million for social housing. That's one of my identities. But I'm also Steven, the father of 4 children, who cares deeply about them and wants to spend time reading stories to them at night. And I'm also Steven, the partner at Perry Field Lawyers. And I'm also Steven, the host of this podcast Seeds and Board Matters. And so I'm trying in everything I do, if you were to meet me wearing a different hat, I want to be authentic and I want to be the same person in each circumstance. So you wouldn't be surprised to meet me and find out that in my community finance role, I'm always asking, how can we add value? Because you would know that that's my approach to Seeds. It's my approach to this webinar. It's my approach to everything I do. So try to integrate your life so that your values are present no matter what identity you are. And then I find it's really helpful to have a few different projects that you're working on because people get to know me in one context and then they'll be like, oh, wait, I see you do a podcast. I've actually listened to your podcast before. And then it's helpful to have multiple channels to get information out to people. So sometimes I'll do a post on LinkedIn. The comments are so amazing that I'll make it into a Seeds podcast episode. So I've done that several times now where actually it's a work-life balance. And now I've done an episode about what that is and what is integration. So yeah, hopefully that helps answer that one. Susan says, I haven't engaged with LinkedIn for some years, but want to start using it in the way you do to connect and be positive. How much time do you allocate each week to posting and engaging? That's a great question. Thank you very much. And great to have you here. I guess it's that word integration. I've kind of integrated into my scheduling and just how I'm operating. So it may surprise you that I don't have it set for alerts. You know how it can show you if there's a post or something, it will give like a number 1 to 7 or whatever. I turned that off because I found it was distracting because every time there was a little red notification that somebody had done something, I felt like I needed to go in and look at it. And what I want to do is be proactive and it to be me that's driving it rather than it being the algorithms or the platform telling me that I need to come and look at a new thing. So, but I do use it really frequently. I would say, yeah, a heavy user of LinkedIn. So I would usually, at some point in the morning, as I'm getting into the day, I would go in and check what's been posted, where I'm tagged in, or if there's someone who's left a comment. My philosophy is I will comment back to every comment that's made on my post. Any post, any comment, any post. I might disagree with a person. I had one the other day. I do not agree with what they said, but I said that it was very diplomatic. It said, thank you so much for sharing this perspective. I really appreciate that you took the time to comment. So I'm not, negatively downplaying what they've said. I just chose in that moment to say thank you for, commenting. So yeah, I would do that. I would tend to post, like I've said, in the morning. I would usually have planned the post. So probably a couple days before I'll get my idea and I'll start writing it. I usually just have it as an open email, as a draft email, and then I'm adding to it when I get a bit of time. Um, I forgot to say it's in the top 10, but I do use emojis because I find that breaks up the solid text of a post. Usually I use them when I'm making bullet points. So I'll make my initial, you need I catch the person's attention with the opening statement. So something like, we've just released a free guide about fund holding, and you can find it in the comments below. Oh, a free guide. Oh, fund holding. And then the top three things that we concluded were one, two, three. And I'll do a little emoji. Usually, to be honest, it's about getting some different colors. And so I might do a little sunflower as a yellow, and then a little diamond as a blue, and then a river as another, like try to vary it up. Sometimes I'll relate the emoji to what's said. Like how do you balance all the things on your plate? I'll have a little juggling man with the three balls in the air. But generally, I don't overthink that. I just want to break up my text with a bit of, color and make it more interesting. Yeah, so I use it a lot. I use it for messaging. There's somebody that I'm hoping that we can recruit. We're having a LinkedIn messaging back and forth, and we're about to switch to email. So yeah, I'm on it quite a lot is the answer. I don't know if there's an easy way to give you how much time do I spend. There must be a way to check, but I would say that it would be every day, more than half an hour, probably more like 45 minutes or something. So that's because remember what I'm doing is I'm trying to amplify other people in my network. So if I see somebody that's posted something, even if I'm not tagged, I will try to comment because I know that by commenting, I'm adding value to their post. So what I'm trying to do is, if one of you were to post, I would try to comment on it because I know that the person may not realize this, but I'm actually adding value to their post, even if I'm just saying, what a great post, good job. I'm helping amplify their impact because my network is probably then seeing my comment on that post. So, yeah, hopefully that helps, Susan. But yeah, it's up to you. Oh, the other thing, sometimes I will post every day, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a lot. But then I'll feel like I need a break from this and I'm not going to post for the next week. So I'll have a whole week where I don't even post at all. And that's fine. I disagree with the idea that you need to post every single day. I think there can be too much. Always post rich, helpful content. That should be the filter you're using, not I'm posting because I feel like I need to post. I don't think you're going to get good content if you're just like, oh, it's 10 o'clock and Steven said I should post in the morning. So I'm just going to post like it's a rainy day in Tauranga. Have a good weekend. It's not resonating. So sometimes I'll go a week. I've gone, a couple weeks without posting because I didn't really have any. And also I don't want to wear out my welcome. I don't want my posts to be so in people's streams that they get tired of me. I want them to see my content and go, I'm going to take time to look at it because everything he posts is adding value to my day. So yeah, you want to not overdo it is what I'm saying. So hopefully that liberates you, Susan, not to feel like I need to post every hour. Like the filter is how am I adding value here? All right, let's keep going. And I did the scheduling comments. All right, Kirsty, thanks for being here. Great to have you. Humble question. How do you gracefully engage when attending real life events where people already know who you care based on your LinkedIn activity, aka 99% mostly commenting sincerely on other posts? How do you gracefully engage when attending real life events where they already know who you care about based on you? Christy, do you mind coming off of muting and just explaining the detail there? I'm not quite getting what you're meaning. What's the context that you're meaning?
Sorry, there's a typo.
Oh,
It
okay.
was meant to say "are" when people know who you are rather
Oh,
than
okay.
"care."
Okay, that
Sorry.
makes more sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
because it said who you care, who you are. Um, yeah, no. Well, I think how do you gracefully engage when attending real life events where people already know who you are based on your. Well, see, so I've got this many followers. I think, yeah, like I said, I'm getting close to 7,000. But those followers, like last year, I think I had 5,000. So there's 2,000 people who are relatively new to who I am. So I don't mind posting content that helps other people to learn about what I do and who I am. Like I'm trying to be authentic with every post, and I'm trying to remember that somebody just started following me last week. So it's okay to continue with the messaging and the consistency of the values and the proposition of who you are. So hopefully that helps a little bit with that one. All right. And Dennis, do you sometimes send an email to all your followers for one of your identities? If so, how? I do. I have an email list, which I call the impact email. That goes to, I think we're almost at 1,000 people. And that I would say is a kind of hybrid identity. That's me. So it's Steven. It's from my Perryfield website or Perryfield email, but I'll put in things that are relevant for, I just interviewed this person on Seeds, or we've just announced a new bond for community finance, or something like that. So I do have an email that I use. I only email once a month unless there's something exceptional. Like the government is currently consulting with charities until the end of the month. So I sent an email at the start of the month about that. And I'm going to email again this coming Monday because it's such an important issue. And if people aren't aware of it, they'll have missed the time. So it won't help if I wait until the first week of the month. But I try not to, I try to ensure it's not becoming a spammy type email. Like, I've got this event, would you come? And then the next week, here's another thing. And then the next week, here's another thing. So I try to not overwhelm people's inboxes. But it's helpful. I usually take those LinkedIn posts I've done, and that will inform what goes into my email newsletter. So it is helpful. If I've taken the time to create a graphic to go on LinkedIn, that graphic can become content for my newsletter, which is actually a principle. You reuse your content whenever possible. So if you've done a graphic here, could you put it in a newsletter here? Or could you send it over there? Or could you approach a group and send it? Like always reuse your content. This here, so I posted about holding this session and I had a bunch of people sign up for it. We're now recording the session. I'm going to email it out afterwards. I'll probably post this session. So I'm reusing the content as much as possible. If I had time, I would also split this video up into short little, 3 minutes, 1 minute. That's a capacity thing. Like, do I have time to do that? And maybe I will, but I haven't decided yet. So hopefully this is helpful. That's the spirit in which with it's been offered. I'm really grateful that all of you are able to come along and engage and be a part of this. So yeah, here we go. The science experiment. We're up to 28 reactions and 16 comments on that post as of right now. And so that's way more than I would normally get, for within an hour of posting something. So I'm sure that's because all of you have been very helpful in liking or putting comments. And it's had almost 600 impressions over that last 45 minutes. So I hadn't said this, but it takes time for the algorithms to kick in. So that post, because it's had so many likes and comments, probably at about 4 o'clock, it will go in as one of those alerts within LinkedIn itself saying, Steven Moe posted this, and then it will get picked up by more people. Either you get lucky, and as soon as you post it, it goes into their feeds and it says, Steven Moe just posted, and then it has the first sentence of what I posted. Those are the gold. That's wonderful if you can get it, but it seems to be pretty random how that works. But that one should get lots of engagement because so many of you have liked and commented and things. So it will now appear probably either later today or this afternoon. It will go as an alert to people who are my followers as Steven posted this, and then they'll come and like and comment. And then I'm about to go in and comment on all your comments. So it will help to amplify it because we'll get like 30 or 40 comments, and then it will help. So thanks everybody for joining. Really appreciate it. And I would love to support each of you in your journeys here. So feel free to tag me when you're doing interesting LinkedIn content. It would really help me if when I post, if you're willing to like and comment, let's help each other. I also do a podcast called Seeds and one called Board Matters. If you haven't subscribed to it, it really helps those algorithms if you subscribe in Spotify. And if you're able to leave me a review, that helps as well, because then more people see, oh, this is good content. My actual job is as a lawyer, so people get confused sometimes, but I'm a partner in a law firm. If any of you have legal needs or you're looking to start a company, or you're doing a charitable trust, or you're leasing something, or you need employment agreement help, please consider me. Hopefully you get the spirit of how we operate as a firm. I don't think there's any other lawyers I know doing webinars about LinkedIn and how to do it better. And I think we can probably support you in your journeys as well, or people that you know. So just bear it in mind. Maybe you keep your existing legal provider, but you have an alternative which we can then come and help with specific projects. So you all are my best ambassadors. I really appreciate that you would join me this afternoon, and I hope you have a good rest of your days. I will send a follow-up email which has a link to this, and I'll send out this PDF document. As an experiment, why not try posting it and put a comment about, I just attended a webinar with Steven, and here's the top 10 things. I totally disagreed with his numbers 1, 5, and 7, but number 6 was okay. Try to make it interesting for people. And then what do you all think? What would you add to this list? Always be inquisitive and curious to learn from others as well. So thanks, everybody. Hope you have a good rest of your days, and kakitano. Bye.